Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Live stream with Chris Q. Murphy. I'm your host, Chris Q. Murphy, and I'm here to have a damn good time. We play songs, we talk songwriting. That's all we do around here. I hope that you are having a fantastic evening wherever you are, and I look forward to sharing this evening with you and my special guest. As always, before I have my special guest come on, I go ahead and play a couple of songs, and I'm going to do that just like I do right now. If you have any special requests before we get things rolling, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I'll be sure to check them out the best I can. In the meantime, this particular request comes directly from tonight's special guest. He asked me especially to play this song tonight. I haven't played it in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Let's see exactly how this thing goes. That's not how that fucker goes at all. That's not it at all. It goes like that. I've been looking for a friend who looks good in spangles and sequins, who is comfortable with birds, who can sit in tiny spaces and hold their breath for minutes. Previous experience preferred. I'm in search of a companion who knows some simple card tricks, gentle with the iodine when the swords don't go in straight, who doesn't mind a handcuff or some grease paint or some something, or staying up alone all night to wait for a partner who is past his prime but too handsome to leave. Please help an old magician with your trick still up his sleeve. All right. Well, I need an assistant and her own feather boa who comes complete with courtesy and tact. Just a good old-fashioned lady in the body of a sports car to be a better half of my act. Now I can't waste no time in training some new ingenue or baby. So no drinkers, please, no smokers, and no fakes. I've got all the vices covered, so I don't need no one else's. Let me make all of the mistakes. But a man can't saw himself in half and come up whole relieved that he's a crafty old magician where the trick's still up his sleeve. Just like my Alice down in Dallas, who got nervous at the palace, or that Sue in Tuscaloosa where the crowd was too obtuse. Maybe that Gertie from Albuquerque, but not nearly half as flirty. And please no more heartbreakers like that fern I left in Baker. Hell, I guess I should admit it. I am looking for a lover who don't mind a disappearing act or two, who will stand there while the smoke clears and the crowd cries for an encore and smiles, surprised if it's something new. Then she'll pack the trunks up neatly and she'll meet me by the stage door, drive us both back to our cheap motel. There'll be no walks along beaches, no moonlight strolls or movies, no dogs, no kids, not that much more than spells. But illusions can be solid, there are lies you can believe from crafty old magician with a trick still up his sleeve. So dial 1-800-PERSONAL, prepare to be deceived by a lovelorn old magician with a trick still up his sleeve. Woo-hoo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That is the first song off the first release that I ever put out under my own name. I've been kind of tooling away, playing in Democratic bands and other things on the New York City scene for a very long time, but there was nothing out in the world under the name Chris Q. Murphy. And then I started performing my own shit way late in the game. In September of 2009, I was already years old. And I kind of took a while to get my footing. I worked whatever connections I'd kind of picked up along the way. And within a year and change, I'd put together a pretty awesome band called the Fiendish Thingies. And we gathered at a small studio in New Jersey called ECB Studios and recorded an EP around one microphone. All gathered around one mic, fucking old school. 5 people in the band. It was pretty awesome. I'm still super proud of that recording. It's called Fiendish Thingies, and you can hear it anywhere you hear streaming music in 2021. I am super proud of not only that whole EP, but that recording in particular, because it opens up with drums. And it's like one of the greatest drum sounds I've ever heard on an album. And I got to tell you, it was played on the most like puny, purposefully puny and low key and transportable drum set of all time. My drummer at the time, Spiff, love you, Spiff, used to use an accordion case as a kick drum. And in that accordion case, he could fit a kick drum pedal, which he had fitted to use backwards. He could also fit a snare drum stand, a little cymbal that went on a stand that clamped onto this. You know, now you can buy these things online for all sorts of stupid amounts of money. Like my Instagram feed is like all these fucking portable drum sets and shit. Maybe they're psychic in the past. But like Spiff was rocking this shit way ahead of the game. We're talking in excess of 10 years ago. And the first thing you hear is that train drum beat on that EP, and Spiff's fucking bass drum, aka accordion case, played with a backwards kick beater, sounds like fucking gangbusters. So proud of that one, and that's the first song on it. I'm going to go ahead and play another song off that same EP because now I'm thinking about it, and I don't have much time to play this quiet one these days. If you don't mind, I'm gonna bust it down a level or two. You know, next week, a week from tomorrow, I'm returning to school in person for the first time in months. New York City public middle schools and high schools have been fully remote for a couple months. And I'm returning to the classroom to teach in whatever capacity that's going to be starting next week. And whenever I think about going back to school, I think about this song. As a matter of fact, whenever I think about this song, I also think about songs that I've had around for a long time, and ones that I might have even been playing back when I first met tonight's guest, who we'll see in just a couple minutes. This song is called Coop's Blues, and if you can tell me what the title is a reference to, I will give you a big, wet, sloppy kiss the next time I see you. Oh, wait. We need vaccines. Lying here awake and staring at the ceiling, I can't seem to escape that end of summer feeling. You know, the one where it's time to kiss goodbye, but she tells you that it's over. You were never really her type of guy. You were just a placeholder. Still she says, write me, try to keep in touch. I'll see you next summer. I felt like a damn fool with my everyday conventions. So now I'm breaking all the rules just to get your attention. Motorcycles, cigarettes, and jackets made of black leather. I wrote them down and I mailed them off to you, but I never got a letter. Still I tried to write you, tried to keep in touch. Hope I see you next summer. Young love, young love. Now school is out again, and camp is back in session. And you've got this new boyfriend who's yet to learn his lesson. Funny, he looks like I used to look. All plain and shy and naive. Maybe I should tell him how the story ends and save him some grief. Before you tell him, write me. Try to keep in touch. I'll see you next summer. Just like you told me, write me. Try to keep in touch. I'll see you next summer. Thank you, Tuesday. Thank you to Matt and Diana for tuning in out there. I will tell you, Matt, I specifically wore this shirt because I knew you'd be watching tonight. And I knew that you are already a convert and you know of the greatness of Teenage Halloween. And so I wanted to wear this shirt for you. This is the Teenage Halloween t-shirt. When I bought the downloads on Bandcamp, it was like buy the album for $13 or buy the album and the shirt for $20. And I was like, this is a dope fucking shirt. How do I not buy it for $7? And so I did. Also, I have a fucking shirt with a flamethrower on it. And if you don't know about Teenage Halloween, you need to know about Teenage Halloween. So please go check out their music. Diana, to answer your question, yes, I have been vaccinated. As a matter of fact, I went for my second shot on Saturday afternoon. New York City made the decision to prioritize vaccinating teachers, in addition to lots of other groups of people. And my wife and I were lucky enough to get appointments. At this point in the game, both my wife and I have gotten both shots. My mother-in-law, who lives with us, has gotten one of the two shots because she's 70 years old. And again, in a priority group in New York City, we're very excited. And while we know that this thing is far from over, we certainly feel a little safer going out into the world, especially since so many stupid-ass motherfuckers are too selfish to take any sort of safety precautions to take care of the rest of the world. They call themselves libertarians. I call them selfish motherfuckers, basically. But that's probably a different discussion for a different day. We should get on to the discussion with tonight's special guest. Now, one of the other reasons I thought those two songs that I just played made sense was because they both have an element of humor in them. And I know that for a long time, people that have come out to see me play time and time again have appreciated that there is a humorous element in a lot of my songs. Not all of them. They're fucking serious songs and shit. But, you know, I'm not afraid to wink. And I do lean on humor from time to time when I feel like I'm in a songwriting bind. It's what makes me comfortable. It's what I think works well for me. And, you know, like how many fucking mopey-ass white guys with acoustic guitars can you listen to? Like somebody at some point in the night has to do something slightly different. And I am predisposed to deal with pain through humor. I've always been more comfortable with people that have a sense of humor. I used to tell my mom when I was a kid that I didn't like doctors that were too serious. Like it's just who I am as a person. Now, I'm not saying I'm Mr. Funny Guy. My wife is like 36 times funnier than I am. And I would never like dare get on stage and try to like do stand-up comedy. As much as I really enjoy the craft of stand-up comedy, I love it great when I see it. I love the live improvisatory element of it. I love seeing a really good comic work both their material and work the room at the same time. I think that like Dave Chappelle once said that all stand-up comedians want to be musicians and all musicians want to be stand-up comedians. I think that certainly rings true for this musician. But every once in a while, you know what? I was listening to I forget what interview I was listening to today, but did you know that Black Thought, like Tariq Trotter from the fucking Roots, has been doing stand-up gigs just to challenge himself? I don't know if they're good or bad, but yo, he's been in the game for 1,000,000 years and he's recognized as one of the best rappers of all time. And only now at almost 50 years old, he's like, you know what? I need to push myself somewhere. I hope he's not bumping any comics that need the slots because of his celebrity. But at any rate, I would never try that shit. Then again, check back with me when I'm 50. But I do know one person who has managed to really ride that line between musician and stand up and do both of them phenomenally well. They really inform each other. Before he was a stand-up, he was, just a musician. That's when I got to know him. And he was veering towards like doing humorous songs, not jokey songs, humorous songs. But I'm sure that's going to come up tonight. I'm sure that we're going to have lots of fun things to say to each other because that's just how things go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to shut the fuck up for a minute and bring on tonight's guest, Anthony Kapfer. Anthony, say hello to the world.
Hello, world.
How you doing, dude? Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm doing all right. How are you? I liked your performance.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for asking for the Magician song. I had not played that one in a minute.
I love that one.
Thank you. I like it too. It was the second song my wife and I ever wrote together.
Oh.
We wrote one the day before that, which has never been performed. But if people ask me nicely, I will send them a demo of it that I made in the moment that has fucking mad auto-tune on it.
Oh, I didn't know you use auto-tune on anything.
Oh, who doesn't use auto-tune, man? Anyway, I was very lucky. Anthony hosts a weekly show online as well, and I got to be the guest last month. I also got to be in the live studio audience a couple weeks after that, which is a total lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll talk about converting our lives to digital performers as opposed to on stage performers, because we both share the philosophy that, like, in order to keep doing this, you have to fucking get up there and do this. Yeah. Otherwise, what the fuck are you doing? So, dude, what's going on? Tell us where you're coming from so the guests know. I'm
in Denver, coming at you live.
I think you are our first Mountain Standard. Is it Standard or Saving? Anyway, you're our first Mountain Time Zone person thus far. Yeah, we've had one Central. We've had one whatever the coast one is called, Pacific. We've had one of those. Thank you. We've had one of those. But you are our first Mountain Time Zoner. Welcome from Denver, Colorado.
Thank you. It's funny because I do a lot of streaming things like this, and a lot of people that I do it with are in New York. So half the time I'm still thinking in Eastern time, Eastern Standard.
Right. I mean, you came up as both a musician and a comic in New York. You got your start doing both of those things here in New York. Why the move to Denver a couple years ago or last year?
Beginning of last year, I guess. In 2019, I was on tour for 10 months out of the year, and I was in Colorado for about a week, and that was how I met my girlfriend when I was just passing through. And cool. when the tour ended, originally I was going to move to LA and just try it out for a year, maybe. I figured I might end up back in New York. But instead of going to LA, I moved here, and the timing was a little weird because it's. I mean, there wouldn't have been much going on if I moved to LA. So I'm sort of glad I because there's no real industry here. So it was like one of the first times I made a choice to be like, all right, as a human being, I think this is a good move as opposed to like for my career.
Right. Well, I mean, it's always that balance, isn't it? And we have a lot of regular New York watchers, both musicians that play in New York and people that go to shows in New York. So everybody has a pretty good feeling, I think, in the house for what a New York show, be it comedy, music, or otherwise, feels like. And we can get into the dirty details of that if we want. But from your limited experience, I mean, I know you said you were touring for 10 months of the year leading up to that. You probably only got a couple of weeks of shows under your belt before COVID. But how does
probably 6 months or so.
Oh, okay. How does the live performance scene differ in a city like Denver as opposed to New York City?
Probably the biggest difference is just the diversity of the audience and the performers, because it's very white.
Okay.
But other than that, the vibe, so the shows that I've done in Denver feel similar to if I was going to compare it to New York, I would say like the financial district is pretty similar. It's that kind of crowd.
So wait, you paid a lot of money to play other people's jokes? Is that it?
Well, you
You
just you
do?
know how those people, you just can't please them, and they show
Yeah.
up and they kind of want to make the show about themselves, and it's kind of a lack of respect, and like this kind of, they're not quite hip. They're young and they have money and whatever, but they're just not that cool.
Right.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Now, Anthony, you're not just like you came to New York to be a musician. You were born and raised in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So New York is in your blood, and the idea that there is always a diverse crowd around you is deep, deep inside you, both as a musician, as a public school student, as a comic.
Yeah.
How does like suddenly standing before a predominantly white crowd affect your vibe on stage? Does it, or do you still just do you? I mean,
Yeah, I still just do. I mean, I do the same thing that I would do. Well, so the thing that I learned from touring, as much as I did, because I had toured before that, but that was the longest tour that I had done, and it was the first time I got to headline that much in a row. Pretty much most nights. So I really wanted to not change the material that I did, even if I was like in a somewhere in the South or somewhere where I didn't think that they would necessarily agree with things that I believe or get certain kinds of if I got too weird for them or whatever. So I tried to not change the material, but I would kind of switch up maybe the presentation of it, the order of things or how I would go into the weird stuff. I would maybe get them ready for it a little bit more. So,
Okay.
so those kinds of things I think are how I deal with, even a place like Denver, where it's, everybody's smart enough to get the jokes, whether or not they want to get weird or whatever. That's another thing. So I try to almost force what I want to do on the crowd, but hopefully in a way that because I'm a professional, so part of the job is to do it in a way that where they leave happy. So
right.
I kind of that's kind of my approach. I just try to figure out how I can do what I really want to do for this crowd, but do it in a way that they will at least partially appreciate.
Okay, I can get with that.
If that makes sense.
It's really interesting you say that, because I have an ongoing discussion with certain songwriter performer friends of mine about where that line between, and obviously I think this is one of the differences between maybe being a singer songwriter and a stand-up comic. Where is that line between you bringing this legitimate version of yourself and your artistic vision, and like doing a thing that is going to keep the crowd? At what point, like, I always get hung up on that shit. When I play in different neighborhoods,
Yeah.
I pick different set lists, which is probably fucking stupid. I should probably just roll up and do my fucking 10 best songs or whatever, regardless of where I'm playing. But I'm always like micromanaging my own fears. And I'm like, well, in this neighborhood, they're going to like this song better, so I better play it. And some of my friends are like, dude, just fucking go and do you. The club asked you to come, not some other person. So I think it's interesting that you are making a conscious decision to make changes in that regard to keep the crowd happy. So I'm excited to hear that.
To an extent, though, like, because when I was first starting in stand up, I think that I would switch up my entire set depending on the room, and there was value in that because I learned how to kind of work a room, I guess. But there were also times where I tried to do things that I thought the crowd would like. You know, if they seemed like a tough crowd, I'd be like, oh, well, I really want to do this stuff that I'm excited about, but I guess I'll do this other stuff that they'll probably like. And I had enough sets where they didn't like that, the thing that I thought they would. And after the show, I would be like, man, I didn't even get to do the stuff that I was excited about.
Right.
And so, you know, at a certain point, there was, you know, I had done that enough to where I knew how to work a room, and there was a moment where I just kind of stopped changing what I wanted, changing what I would do, because I would kind of beat myself up a little bit if I tried to please them and it didn't work. So I was always like, you know, I might as well have just done all my new stuff if it was going to go as badly as it did, you know, just and and sometimes the crowd picks up on the excitement that you have for something new, whether it's a joke or a song or whatever. There's like an excitement and a joy that you can sometimes, you know, you squeak by a little bit based on that.
Before we get too deep into the world of stand-up, we should mention that, like, when we first met, you were out there doing your thing. I don't want to say as a singer-songwriter. You weren't rolling up to fucking cafes and open mics with your acoustic guitar. You were predominantly creating like one-man full-on rock records. You were doing a fucking Dave Grohl thing. I don't mean like you were trying to sound like Dave Grohl.
Well,
but I mean,
was
like,
doing that too.
Yeah, there's very little shame in that, and I'm sure I'm going to catch fucking hell from Matt for saying that later on, or now. But like, yeah, you were writing your own material and then doing these fully fleshed out recordings of where you played all of the instruments and sang all the parts. But even in that regard, you were a singer songwriter, and that is the Anthony that I met and started playing shows with so many years ago. And I know that you've said in recent months that is one of the things that you're trying to reclaim as part of yourself. Something I know that you put on the back burner your last couple of years in New York. And it's something that I know you put out an album this year. I know that you're talking about re-releasing one of what I consider to be your fucking classic albums, which we'll talk more about after the break. But before we do any of this, maybe we should give the world a little context of Anthony the musician. Maybe I'll get the fuck out of the way, like literally get off the screen and turn it over to you, and you can play 2 songs while I go refill my water. I will say this, side note, I'm dealing with some sort of weirdest internet issues here. I was dealing with them last week around doing the show on my phone. I thought I had it tackled, but I see there's some glitchy stuff going on. So if for some reason something goes fucking wrong and I'm just not here, continue the show, and I'll get back to you when I can. Hopefully it won't be an issue. But for right now, you're watching the Tuesday Night Live stream with Chris Q. Murphy, and I'm your host, Chris Q. Murphy. This is our special guest, Anthony Kapfer. Wait, that way. You got to point reverse. I don't know what's happening to people at home, but it's working for me. He's going to go ahead and play a couple of songs for you, and when we come back, we'll talk even more about all sorts of cool stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Kapfer.
All right. I will... I'm going to do... Since Chris mentioned stuff that I was doing when we met, I'm going to do a song from an album that came out when we first started knowing each other. It's a Fake Kids album. It's called Songs for Children to Cry To, and this is the 10th anniversary of the album. So here's one of the songs. A is for apples, they are delicious, and they're also very good for you. B is for balloons at your birthday party, that was a good one, everybody danced. C is for cookies, they are so tasty, but they're just a sometimes snack. And D is for divorce. that your parents filed for. The D is for divorce. They don't love each other anymore. E is for every time that you're with them, all they do is fight and fight all day. F's the frustration that you are feeling, 'cause the pain inside won't go away. G is for the good times that are over. Things are different now, you have 2 homes. And D is for divorce. They might say it's not your fault. And D is for divorce, but you'll never really know for sure. The weekend comes and Dad is home, but it's just for visitation. He takes you back to his new bachelor pad and cries his eyes out on the couch. 'Cause Mom has got a new boyfriend, and you can call him Dad if you want. And we sing la 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 la. D is for divorce. We sing la 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 la. D is for divorce. Thank you, thank you. Want me to jump right into the next one?
Yes, I do.
All right. So that was 10 years ago. We'll talk about the transition, but this is a song that I released over the summer as a single. What would you say if I asked you a rhetorical question? Hypothetically, what is the meaning of life? Tell me yes or no. That was a trick question. Or was it? I don't know. I don't have all the answers now. How could I when I don't even have all the questions? Ironically, I complain that I do not get sarcasm. Isn't that just great? I want to be a positive person, but that seems so unlikely. Sometimes I think my mind is playing tricks on me, therefore I'm always right. People say that happiness is a choice, but I can never make up my mind. And I know I'm getting older because I'm old enough to remember being younger. And now I reminisce about nostalgia, 'cause it used to be better. What if the good old days never happened, but we just don't remember? The future's running late. This trip down memory lane is taking us forever. I always hear people say that money can't buy happiness. But what if I paid them off? Maybe then they'd finally shut up about it, and nothing would make me happier. Don't bother to explain so. I am so totally vain. I probably think this song is about me, even though it's vague. But enough about Carly Simon, let's talk about me.
Anthony Kapfer, ladies and gentlemen, totally
Thank you.
crushing it, dude.
Oh,
I love
thanks.
that song. I don't know if you caught the very beginning of the show, but I was talking about how the first song I played on the original recording, the drums were played by none other than Mr. Spiff Wiegand,
Yes.
who played all sorts of shit on the D is for Divorce song, which is from Songs for Children to Cry To.
Yeah.
I dropped the link in the chat.
Nice.
Because I know you're going to re-release it, but if they want to hear it right now, they can
Yes.
hear it in its current form on your Bandcamp page, and it is truly, it is a fantastic, fantastic album. I've told you a million times how much I love D is for Divorce. It is truly, truly a special song, and that bridge fucking punches me in the gut every time. Because you're like, oh, this song's so fucking funny. And then the bridge, you're like, no, it's not just funny. When your fucking dad cries his eyes out on the couch, oh my God, it's so good.
It's pretty dark.
And I got to perform it with you a handful of times back in the day. And like, I remember that moment. I remember watching the audience like kind of laughing along and enjoying the song, and then you hit the bridge and they're just like, oh, and that's such a great moment.
It's a interesting moment when I'm doing that at a comedy club.
Tell me about that, please. What's that look like and feel like?
Hopefully some of the audience appreciates it, but you can feel the energy shift, because there is some percentage of the audience that is like, whoa, this is, I did not expect it to take this turn. And then, but then by the end, I'm doing the la, 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 all that stuff. So usually you can kind of feel that moment, and then there's that kind of relief at the end, and then people sing along, and it's a party again.
Nice. That's awesome. I guess the expectation is just that much different at a comedy show.
Because at a music show, you could just appreciate. You're like, oh man, this is sad.
Yeah,
and I like that.
Right. So this song has found a home as part of your comedy set as well. Yeah,
that song for the first maybe, I don't know, at least 2 years, that was like a closer, even if I was doing just a short set. But when I was a headliner in the early days, I'd say like, the first 5 years or something that I was doing stand-up, I would still close with that. If I was doing a half hour or longer or whatever, I would always do that song.
Yeah.
That was my closer.
Nice. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to walk away from. Leave them smiling with that sing along.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, when you first were working on Songs for Children to Cry To, I guess that those of us that knew you a little bit could have seen the writing on the wall. Like, yeah, this guy's a fantastic songwriter and a great musician, but clearly his interests are in a slightly off-kilter direction. When did you decide to just be like, I just want to do this funny shit all the time? Like, how did that happen?
It was...
Or wait. If you've already covered this in like 13 different podcasts, go ahead and tell me where they are, and I'll go listen to it.
I'm not sure that people really ask too much about that. Because a lot of comedy people, they don't know the extent of my musical career, or they can't tell the difference if I'm just somebody who learned how to play guitar to be a comedian, which I think you should be able to tell the difference. But
I can tell the difference.
But I So I made that album without really knowing where those songs would fit. And it did feel a little strange because I had the album before that was like some breakup album, just all these serious songs, kind of similar sound, it's a little more acoustic. But the tone of the lyrical content was completely different. So I had all these breakup songs, and then I had all these like funny kid songs that were dark, and it was a little weird to kind of mix them. And it was probably the end of that year, middle to end of so it was 10 years ago that the album came out, and that album came out in the beginning of 2011, and second half of the year I was doing stand up. So it was somewhere after that album was done that I sort of decided to try stand up, and having funny songs was a nice kind of cushion, because I do one-liner jokes and stuff, but when I do music, then I do that kind of stuff. So it was nice to not feel the pressure of having to fill all of my time with one-liners, and just have these songs to kind of fall back on. So
Right.
So that was sort of the beginning. I just kind of started going to open mics and stuff with a friend of mine. We would like watch each other and give each other notes, and I would do it was 5 minutes or so, in the beginning. So I just do 2 or 3 minutes of jokes, and then I would do Dias for Divorce.
Dude, that's a killer 8 minutes right there. If I went to an open mic and I saw a stand up do 2 or 3 minutes of decent one-liners and play that song, I'd be like, why is this guy at the fucking open mic? Give him a fucking slot. That's got to be a really great way to start, because I've watched so many of those open mics and seeing people try to stretch.
Yes.
Like if you get, I know a lot of them are 5s, but at those places they give you the 8. Like I've seen people try to stretch what they thought was 8, but is really 4.
Yes.
And it's like, oh man.
And you think that's bad? When I was first starting to get gigs like opening for people or even headlining, you're supposed to just take the gig, right? If somebody's like, hey, can you do 30 minutes? You're like, yep. So think about when you think you have 30 minutes, when everybody likes you, and then you show up to the gig and everyone hates you, and you just blast through 30 minutes of material in 15, So that's
when you're really thankful for your career as a musician.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then headlining too. I've done gigs where 20 minutes in, I know it's gonna before 20 minutes, but like sometimes I know this is just gonna be a nightmare, and I have to do 45 to an hour as a headliner to get paid. So you're talking about stretching. That's when you're like, where are you guys from? What do you just start going into the crowd, just trying anything you can do.
How is your crowd work game? Be honest. How do you feel like you are with crowd work?
Good.
Okay.
When I first started, I'd say the first year or so, almost the first 2 years, I did my set as if there was nobody even watching, like kind of like Stephen Wright or something like that.
Yeah.
And I started working at a club, Greenwich Village Comedy Club, and I was there a lot. And the booker there he's also a comic, and he would always give me kind of notes and things, and it was kind of his idea. He was like, this is a tough room, so if you want to do well, I think you should probably start getting start incorporating crowd work. And he thought that it would be kind of a fun, with the guitar when I'm like strumming chords and telling one-liners. He thought it would kind of be unexpected that I would even do crowd work.
Oh, cool.
And so then I started working on it mostly in that club, and but then anywhere in New York that I was doing a show, and New York is kind of the best place to get good at crowd work, because there's so many different kinds of people.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's cool.
I mean, I've seen everything, anything that can happen in a room during a show has happened, fist fights, people crying, people passing out, anything like that
Nice.
has happened. So I've done, and when you're doing shows like in Times Square or something like that, you might have a bunch of tourists from Europe or somewhere where they don't even fully understand English,
Right.
French people or something, whatever,
Yeah.
from wherever. So there's all kinds of stuff that you kind of learn how to adapt to. So I would say it's pretty good. My crowd
No,
work.
that's good to hear. I know that like I tell me if I'm wrong, because again, I've never ever purposefully told jokes on stage, unless they're like laced into my banter with a band or something.
Yeah.
But there was a while where I was doing a little bit of writing about stand up on a couple online places and kind of studying it a little bit, and more like time and time again, it seemed like all the people who really got respect from other comics in the world were not just the ones that were great writers, because that you can develop in a room on your own, but the people that really elevated the crowd work thing into an art form. Because when I think now, I'm not as conversant in the world of stand-up as you are, and my tastes probably run pretty old. But like when I think about crowd work, and I think about the way that like Todd Barry low key works a crowd,
He's
I'm
great.
like, yeah, because he never gets animated about it, because that's his whole fucking thing. Like he still stays that Todd Barry, but when he works the crowd in character, he can just like tear somebody apart by
Yeah.
mumbling, and it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
you know,
It's great. And it's
yeah,
it's also, I don't know if it's a character, because I have been hanging around, at the Comedy Cellar or whatever with comics that I know, and anybody at the Comedy Cellar knows Todd Barry. He's there almost every night of the week, or was. I don't know where he is now. But I just remember there was a comic that we were like hanging out at sitting at a table, and he was walking by, and I forget what it was exactly, but he the comic asked him, he's like, "Hey, what did you think of that tweet or whatever?" And he said what the tweet was, and then Todd Barry like cleaned it up as he was walking by, like he word economy. He was like, "I think it's better if you just say whatever," and he just didn't even stop walking, but he just did it like in his character or whatever to a comic. He like fixed this guy's joke just as he walked by the table, and he did it with that kind of. I just think that that's who he is, and he's a great comic, but I'm not sure that he would be fun to hang out with, because I feel like he's just that guy all the time.
I mean, if he is, I can see that 100%. Like, yeah. Whew.
But he's very funny, and his crowd work is great.
Yeah, that was something I always enjoyed. Like I remember, I forget which live album it was, but I must have fucking listened it. Like I listened into it in the ground. If you could wear out an MP3 like an old cassette,
Yeah.
that shit would have been threadbare. Like that file was fucking corrupted. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that he is respected, and I don't sound totally corny for referencing somebody that's been in the game for so long.
No, he's relevant. He's still relevant.
That's good to hear. So you've been working primarily as a comic for the last 8 years. And
yeah, like about probably 9 or so years, unless you
Even
don't
more.
count this whole past year.
Working, schmirking, nobody knows. We're going to count it because it occurred, but we're not going to count it for me. Yeah, you know what? Yes. Dana in the comments said Medium Energy. Yes, Dana, that is the fucking record I'm talking about. Todd Barrett, Medium Energy. Oh my God. I listened to that record so many times. Like sometimes, like if I ask my wife, like, what are you doing? Like, do you have any big plans this weekend? And she's like, I'm just going to stay at home. And I'm like, stay at home, $50, which is a rather involved joke from that album. But like, it's in my brain. It's like Billy Madison quotes.
Oh yeah.
That Todd Barry record. You
Wayne's
know,
World quotes for me.
Wayne's World. There you go. Mitch Hedberg routines. Like it's.
Oh yeah,
Um,
every Mitch Hedberg album, both of the Stephen Wright albums. Those are albums that make me start writing. I listen to those and I'm like, all right, I got it. This is kind of
well,
the blueprint.
see, Stephen Wright. Like I've never seen him live, and I think I've
Haven't
only ever caught small doses. Like I've never sat down to watch a Stephen Wright set.
Oh man,
I don't know what that
his
feels like.
specials, his albums, just they're great.
Where should I start?
His first, I think the album and the special are both called "I Have a Pony." So if
Okay.
you want to listen to it, you can stream it wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might be able to watch that on YouTube. The last time I
Okay.
watched it, it's just somebody has it up there for free.
Cool.
And then his second one is called "I Still Have a Pony," which came out like 20 years later, maybe. It was like 85 and 2005, I think.
Do you know what the names of the albums I put out in 2017, 18, and 19 were?
No.
I Have a Garage Now.
Oh, yes.
I Have a Brief Window of Time Now. And I Have a Bum Pinky Now.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
didn't even know that this was a Stephen Wright
It's a Stephen Wright thing.
joke. And I'm like, oh, cool. That makes me feel cooler now. So now, obviously, one-liners do not a song make. But you told me recently that like you've been leaning back into the songwriting part of yourself for the last little while. How do you feel like your time? I mean, are you just writing songs that you envision as part of your stand-up set, or are you just writing to write songs and put out records again? Like, where are you at?
It's kind of both. Well, and it's interesting that because you said about one-liners. The second song that I did, which is called "The Meaning of Life," all of the lyrics to that song are kind of these leftover, either complete one-liners or fragments of things that I think could have been one-liners that didn't necessarily work on their own. But it's like a collection of kind of strange one-liners. Like, what would you say if I asked you a rhetorical question, hypothetically, or something like that. And so I just put them all together, and I sort of found a melody based on, the length of the lines and stuff, which is a little different than how I normally, usually you're trying to cram the words into a set melody. But this was a little more loose in the way that it all fit. Almost like, a big influence musically for that last song that I did was Harvey Danger. How that guy's lyrics, his melodies and his lyrics are, they don't, it's almost like nothing has to repeat. Like the melody can change from one verse to the next verse, and the choruses maybe don't always have the same lyrics every time, so that was, I just started playing a riff and I was like, that kind of sounds like Harvey Danger. And I was like, what if I just try to keep going? Can I write a Harvey Danger song?
Wow.
And it was that.
I think I only know the one single.
Oh man.
But it's all good. I should check it out.
Yeah. Especially that album, that first album, Where Have All the Merrymakers Gone? I think is that first album.
I don't remember,
the one with Flagpole Sitta. Yeah, the whole album's great.
Good. I'm going to check it out.
And so, and what was about writing to write for the live show or for albums?
Yeah. Like, where is the line right now between being a comic that writes songs and just being a songwriter? There doesn't have to be a line, but I'm legit curious as to where your head is at right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say at least 5 years, I was not writing songs. I was writing jokes, and I was getting better at performing as a stand-up. I had the kids' songs and stuff to fall back on when I needed them, but I was mainly working on writing strong one-liners and my stage presence with and without a guitar. Just being a regular kind of stand-up. Also because everywhere, but in New York especially, there's a little bit of a thing against musical comedians, the purists and stuff. So it sometimes was a little harder, even though what I was doing was different than almost every other comic, at least at my level. I mean, you could compare me to, whoever, Zach Galifianakis or Dimitri Martin, but in the scene that I was in, there was no one doing what I was doing. So, so I spent the first few years really getting good at that. And then the last maybe, at least the last year that I was in New York, so leading up to my 2019 tour, I started really getting back into writing songs. And so I was throwing them in my 10, 15-minute sets in New York. And when I went on tour, I'd say half of my show was one-liners and half of my show was just songs. So it was like 30 minutes of one, 30 minutes of the other. And, I had an idea for an album that I keep coming up with these concept albums. So they work their way into the live show, but so I write songs that I think will work live, but then I might also, like with, so I'm working on a meta comedy music album, which I believe will be called Comedy Songs Are Not Funny. And so, the idea is that hopefully most of these songs work live, the original ones work live, but as I start getting into the concept, I might write some songs that, maybe I won't ever play live, or maybe aren't going to be staples necessarily in a comedy show, but work with the concept and are good songs. But I do try to minimize that. If I could do what I'm trying to do as well as I'd like to, then every song that I write would work in both contexts.
Right.
So that's the goal. But then, then I listen back and, play it for people and see. But definitely now, this, last 11 months, it's more, like in December I put out my second album of last year, which was called Social Distancing Butterfly. So it was all pandemic songs.
It's so good. It's fucking fantastic. I love it. Sorry, keep going.
No, thanks. And it's fun too because it's only like 13 minutes long.
It only has to be.
That's all it has to. Yeah, I was looking into what would technically be considered an album, with like streaming services and whatever. And I looked to see how long Group Sex by the Circle Jerks is. And it was something like 14 and a half or 15 and a half minutes or something. And I was like, okay, so if I come close to this, that's something like 14 songs on that album and it's like 14 minutes. So I was like, okay, somewhere around here. So it ended up being 10 songs, 12 or 13 minutes. But yeah, so that was, that was sort of one of the concepts that I came up with, just write about. I'd never written topical songs before, so that was kind of interesting. To write songs that I know cannot be played 2 or 3 years from now. Except for the idea of like, looking at a time capsule, documenting history, but not, it's like watching, like Dana Carvey in 95, he had a comedy special where it's like half of it's OJ jokes and they're great jokes, but if you watch it for the first time now, you'd be like, what? It's all OJ stuff. So I never wrote songs like that where it was very specific to the time.
Right. Okay. Are you going to play any either Social Distancing Butterfly songs or songs off the Meta Concept album tonight?
I could do one of each.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: the Social Distancing Butterfly songs are short songs, so we're not going to see you play 2 songs. Let's say it like they'd say at open mic. Let's say I'm going to give you 8 minutes.
Oh, you're giving me 8 minutes.
I will not flash a fucking red light over here.
Yeah, I'll keep track.
But yeah, if you, I mean, time is fucking elastic over here. We're on
Oh
a
yeah,
live stream. Like,
who?
who the fuck cares?
Nobody cares.
Like, we're
But
in different time zones, and it's a Tuesday night, so
oh, that's right. It's later over there. But
like,
are you gonna? I was gonna. Are you playing more songs too?
I don't know. You know, it's at the end of the night. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't.
Okay.
A couple months ago, in like October-ish, I decided that like if I want to play live stream shows, I should just fucking go on Instagram and do them.
Just do it
But,
yourself.
but like what I was developing here was infinitely more interesting for me and for the people that were tuning in regularly. So like, you know, I'm more about what you're doing. This is an opportunity for us to catch up a little bit, and this is an opportunity to like let people see what you do. You know,
Okay.
I always tell everybody that there are a couple podcasts and stuff out there that are supposedly about songwriting and about the creative process, and none of them really are.
Yeah.
None of them really are. Yeah, Stephanie's telling us to play more songs. I think she means you, Anthony. I think she means you.
both. She knows your stuff too.
Okay, well, see, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get out of the way for the next 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
If
Okay.
you have an 8-minute slot, that if you want to fill fucking one-liners, that's fine too. Even though this is a music show, I'm not gonna fucking stop you. But I'm gonna go refill my water again. I'm gonna see if this comment. I shared the link to your most recent album. There it is in the chat on Bandcamp, guys. Seriously, Social Distancing Butterfly. If you have 15 minutes to spare tomorrow or late tonight, you got to fucking listen to this album because it is musically great and it is also hilarious and of course timely. So this is the Tuesday Night Live stream with Chris Q Murphy. I'm your host, Chris Q Murphy. This is our special guest, Anthony Kapfer. I'm going to shut the fuck up and get out of the way and let him play however many songs he can play in 8 minutes. Please enjoy, folks.
All right. Well, I guess I will do a couple of songs off of Social Distancing Butterfly. And here's the first track on it. I need to wash my hands, so you should wash your hands. Let's all wash our hands once again before we wash our hands. My hands are dry and cracking and the skin is coming off. I scrub so hard there's blood everywhere. So you know what that means. We need to wash our hands again. Make sure to lather your thumbs. And when our hands go numb, that's half the fun. That's how we know we're done. Now I need to wash my hands again. I'm a social distancing butterfly. I've been training for this moment for all my life. Ever since my exit from the womb, my room has become my new cocoon. But now I have to stay at home so no one else will die. My antisocial behavior makes me your guardian and savior. I wear my superhero PJs and I make the world a safer place. That's why I wear a cape. I'm just like Batman, but with a much smaller bat cave. I'm saving all your lives by sleeping half the day. My birthday should be a holiday that we celebrate with a big parade. But I know I wouldn't go, but it would just be nice to know. 'Cause I'm a social distancing butterfly. I think I'll stay inside again. I'll die if I go see my friends. Go away, you make me sick. I forgot how to shake hands. I'm sure you can't sneeze anywhere no more, but how much more can I endure? And when will the government find a cure? I have a bunch of friends who shared a plate of nachos, so we might as well say adios muchachos. You can wave goodbye and say sayonara, 'cause I saw somebody cough in my carbonara. Will the virus wipe us all away, or will it be a hurricane? There's a chance of acid rain. California's up in flames again. The future of the world depends on humans with no common sense. The planet Earth will be condemned. Remember when we thought the end of the world would be a problem for a future generation, and we did not do a single thing about it. Now we're facing total annihilation. All right. So that's those are some of the pandemic songs, and I'll do a couple of the meta songs now. Oh, this will be the first song on it. So. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my first song of the night. And up next is my second song. So that's the first song on it. And then, all right, I think I have time to do 2 more. They're not terribly long. I'm not very good at playing this guitar. I'm really only playing one chord. So I bought a book and I learned another chord. But I lost the book and then I forgot that chord. Oh wait, I remember now. But playing that second chord just made me bored, so I tried to make up my own chord. But it didn't sound right, so just ignore the chord you heard me play before. Back to the drawing board once more, therefore. Get on the dance floor, but save your vocal cords. The chord store has locked up all its doors. There will be no second chord encore to endure. You've been warned, so don't ask for more. This is the last one that I'll do. This is going to be the first single off of the Meta album. This is the single, yes it is. This is the single. And you are consumers of my art, listening to my single. A pop song can manipulate. It can really change your mood. I need to trick you into liking it, or my career is really doomed. Don't be rude, make this tune really huge. Don't refuse, I need you. You love my single, 'cause I'm using hypnotic suggestion. No one buys music anymore, but please make an exception. This song is in a major key. It's automatically happy. And even though I'm making fun of you, you just can't help but move your feet. Move your feet to the beat in the street. Obey me, now repeat. Do you love my single? Well, you should, because everyone else does. I'm brainwashing you with strategies that are proven by science. This is a key change, there it is. This is a key change. All good singles have key changes, so here's another key change. If you want to fit in and be cool, say that you love my single. Fear of being rejected by your peers makes you love my single. The single is starting to wind down. Now this is the outro. This is the end, this is the end, it's the end of the single. And this is the last time, now it's done.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, I have a whole bunch of songs about writing songs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a whole bunch. I have like 4 or 5 different songs that are just about writing songs. And I want to throw them all in the trash now.
What?
Because of those songs that you just played. Like, they're fucking perfect.
Well, thank you.
Perfect. Oh, man.
The reason I asked earlier if you were going to play more songs was because you are one of the songwriters that I know that incorporates humor, and I always liked the way that you did it, even before I was doing stand up and before I was like figuring out how to do that on my own. You were doing it, so that
well, thank you.
So that's
yeah.
partially your song, is what I'm saying.
Yes, yes. It's like so many like hyper pop songs and R&B pop songs. It's got like 43 writers on it. I'm happy to be one of the 43 writers on that song, so I can get 0.000000004 once every 3 years or so.
Ugh. Yeah,
I know. It's insane. We weren't making any money off fucking selling records already in the indie world. Now we're making even less money than we weren't making before.
I know. But at least before, like right before the pandemic, I put out a cassette. And
I know that cassette.
You know the cassette.
I do.
But I still have a bunch of I was selling physical. That's the only way you could get people to pay for music, is if you did a show and you had some stuff. I have a book, I have tapes, whatever. People will give you money for physical things at a live show. But now people, they'll listen on Spotify, but that's about it.
Yeah, I have one friend who books the American Folk Art Museum. Really a great venue and great series she has going. Larry Ewan, she's fantastic. She's been doing it digitally for months too. And I've been very lucky to play a couple times over the last bunch of years. I bring this up because while you didn't write songs for 5 years, I was writing songs all that time, but I never put a fucking thing out. I never released anything for like millions of different reasons. And at one point I rolled into the Folk Art Museum, which it's called the American Folk Art Museum. And as you might guess, it's the fucking NPR demographic up in there.
Oh, yeah.
Which means they're ready to fucking drop a 20 on that disc if they like what you did. So Lara, I showed up once without fucking product. And Lara was like, Chris Q. Murphy, what the fuck are you doing? I booked you to come play this gig because I love your songs and I love you. But if you're not going to sell CDs after, then what the fuck are we all doing here right now? These people are used to spending money on CDs. And don't you ever come and play one of my shows again if you don't have CDs to sell. And she's got a million artists in her rotation, in her roster. Like really some of the best songwriters around. And my turn came up again a couple years ago. And she's like, so help me God, Chris Q. Murphy, if you come to my show and don't have things to sell, I'm going to be very upset with you. And Lara doesn't fucking play around. So that was one of the reasons that I went out into my garage and recorded. I have a garage now in 2017 because I had a gig that fucking night at the American Folk Art Museum. And I was like, I should really have some shit to sell because if I don't, Lara's going to kick my ass.
That's great.
And so I went out to the garage and I recorded for 31 minutes and I fucking like brought that shit inside, and I did it in one continuous take on my phone. Right, I played.
That's
for
how
30
you did it on the
minutes.
phone?
Yeah, I mean, I recorded 3 albums on my phone. So I went in my garage. I put a phone like on a shelf or something. I recorded for 31 minutes, and then I came in. I like did some really rough EQing, and like did some basic mastering to make the levels decent. And I chopped it up into tracks, and like just started burning CDs, like and like made my homemade labels, and like brought him to the show that night. And then that was right around the time that Matt and he had just gotten this cassette duplicator.
Oh.
And we were like, we should really do this thing now. And that's when we have not been on our A game for the last 2 years, but our cassette label, Until the Quasar Cassettes, which did that run of your cassette, has been really something that Matt and I have been proud of. Matt keeps coming up on the show because he is one of our most fervent viewers and commenters, and he's given me copious notes about what works and what doesn't on this show over the months. But Matt is also somebody that we share in common because you are one of the many musicians / comics who has gone through Pittsburgh and played in Matt Ucia's home. And probably stayed there as well. Dr. Matt Ucia. Sorry. Forget the doctor sometimes. Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
got to buy his book, The Red Glass Cat, folks.
Oh, yeah. He read some poems on my show. It's great.
So good. He sent me a slightly earlier draft, although it was pretty much what's in the book of one of his poems over the summer, just because he wrote it and he thought I'd love it, and it was about going to shows. Because he's all about going to punk shows in Pittsburgh. And I thought it was one of the most beautiful things ever. So I read it on my show that night because it was just like, anyway.
He's great.
Yeah, Matt and I are happy to make cassettes. And we are hopefully going to get back in the saddle in the next couple months and start doing our series of Until the Quasar cassettes, because that's something that, again, if you have that physical product, like people will often buy it at your shows. It's a weird thing that still happens. Now, I will say the last time we did a show together, because you haven't been in New York for a minute, you did have one of my favorite Anthony Kapfer products ever. I don't have it with me tonight, but one of my favorite Anthony Kapfer productions of all time is, you have it in your hand, you're going to hold it up?
I think, unless I'm wrong about what it is.
I traded you a cassette for a copy, and we called it an even trade instead of buying shit from each other. There it is. Book the Book by Anthony Kapfer. Guys and gals, if you go to the great evil bookseller on the internet, it also sells tampons and whatever else you might need. Not only can you get a copy of The Red Glass Cat, which Dr. Matt Ucia just dropped in the chat, but you can also get a copy of Book the Book by Anthony Kapfer, which my wife has had tell me to fucking put away and stop laughing a bunch of times. I think the first couple chapters I've read easily a dozen times, and my wife's like, "Are you fucking reading Book the Book again?" And I was like, "It's called Book the Book." Like, he had me at book.
Yeah. And then the cover, the never-ending. Well, they end at some point. It got too small for me to draw, but
we don't know where.
You can't tell.
No,
Who knows?
You can't.
It goes on infinitely.
It's such a good. So that's my product plugs for other people's shit. Go to glamazon.com, in the words of another stand-up comic. Glamazon.com, because he wasn't allowed to use their name in his stage show. Because
who's
Birbiglia.
Yeah.
It was on a record that he put out in it was before he had any of the off-Broadway shows.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure that I'm a fucking loser non-comic fan for saying I still like his shit, but I do.
No, he's great.
Anyway, on one of his albums, he tells this long, drawn-out story about how fucked up some transaction was. And he's like, I promised not to use their name in my show. So that is my story about Glamazon.com. So if you head over to Glamazon, you can catch a copy of The Red Glass Cat by Dr. Matt Ucia and Book the Book by Anthony Kapfer, and you will have all sorts of awesome reading at your disposal. And they are both
there's drawings.
There are drawings. Matt's book does not have drawings, but oh my god, the
maybe next time.
Matt, I think he just called you out, bro. I think in your next book there have to be illustrations.
Yeah, or I should do a book on tape.
Oh, you mean book the book, the audio book?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's only on tape.
It's a book on tape. Yeah.
We're not putting it on CD. We're not even going to stream that shit. No audible.com. It is a book on motherfucking tape.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway. Sorry. Now our world just got really small and silly. So we should rein it in and refocus because we're on live fucking TV here. And by TV, I mean the internet.
The new TV.
Matt says he's thinking about doing something with paper bag puppets reading poems on YouTube. I am fucking there for it.
I love that idea.
I'm all about it. And if there is a TheraMonster soundtrack to go with that, I am even more for it. So yes, that's Dr. Matthew Ucia, ladies and gentlemen, who is the punk amongst punks, poet amongst poets, and a professor of English literature at Duquesne University.
He's better than us, essentially.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You know that. You know, Matt and I know each other, right? We've gone over this before.
From New Jersey. I don't know if I know how you know each other.
Oh wait, I want to show you New Jersey on my arm for a minute, which I've done on the podcast before. But I want to see if the welt, dude. This is the arm I got the shot in on Saturday.
Oh, they did it in Jersey.
Yeah, no, but it's almost gone away. Like all of North Jersey was red and bulbous for like 2 days from where I got the second COVID vaccine shot. Anyway, yeah, Matt and I, not just any New Jersey, fucking South Plainfield, fucking New Jersey, shithole suburb capital of the world. When we grew up, we thought it was a mediocre, shitty suburb, and now we have learned that it is apparently the racist capital of New Jersey. Oh my
really?
God. I didn't know how fucked up it was until we left. Anyway, Matt and I grew up together. We've known each other since we were 7 years old.
Oh, I didn't know it goes back that far.
It does. And even as our lives, like the classes we were in and even the schools we went to kind of weaved in and out, we always somehow found our way back into hanging out and trading baseball cards or trading cassettes like we did in high school. Playing with fucking model trains way past an age where most people are into model trains. But, you know, that's what happens. So this is what we're going to do. We've talked a lot. It's 10:23. I have been requested to play another song or two. So I'm going to play one more song. One that like is about songwriting because you played your songs about songwriting. So I will play. Matt still has the trains, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are not following the chat, Dr. Matt Ucia still has the fucking trains. I remember that his Conrail engine of all the engines he had, Conrail was the most badass. I remember us getting very excited. I hope Conrail still runs strong. And if you don't make a video, Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer style, of you reading your poems with trains running around your head in stop motion animation, then we're not friends anymore. It's close enough to In Tune for now. The song has a lot of words. I'll see if I remember. I am in a society called the Big City Folk Song Club. And one of the things that we do in Song Club is it's like a closed mic, it's like a filtered open mic essentially. Like it's an open mic format, but you have to be pre-approved to show up and play.
Oh, nice.
And after you play, our leader always says, "Thank you so much," or "Thank you so much. Feel free to come back anytime." And like that's it. Like you either get to hang out, and we're not stodgy. The only thing that we ask is that you take songwriting seriously.
Yes.
Like if you take the craft of songwriting seriously, you get to show up every week and show us your songs. And it's a really great crowd. And one of the things we do, like so many songwriting clubs, is we do have challenge words, or we did before COVID anyway.
Yeah.
And the idea was if you could write a song every week, a curated open mic, says Diana. Diana, who is in the audience right now, is one of our most stalwart supporters. One day I know she's going to get up and play a song for us, but Diana is there week in, week out, supporting us. I think she knows the lyrics to many of our songs better than we do. And we love hanging out with Diana. Anyway, this is I was very many weeks behind on challenge word songs, so I decided I was going to get as many in as possible.
Oh, nice!
In a very small span of time, and I think you'll catch when I do it. But here's my meta song, or one of my meta songs about writing songs. Staring at an empty page, petrified of my guitar. For the last 3 days, I only wrote a bunch of crap about girls and cars. So feeling kind of stuck, I held my own feet to the fire. I've been telling all my friends about this brand new song, and I don't want to be a liar. So here's writer's block song number 143. Another creative crying, woe is me. Trying to make it short work of an order that's too damn tall. The endless search for that perfect part that'll mend their minds and break their hearts. Trying to find just the right words to say nothing at all. And now it shouldn't be this tough after all I've been here before. I can't wait for opportunity to strike off for lightning to knock on the door. Now all I gotta do is combine a couple more cliches. And here's the part where the rhyming dictionary said to sing about Arbor Day. In the writer's block song number 143, another creative crying, woe is me. Making short work of an order that's too damn tall. The endless search for that perfect part that'll mend their minds and break their hearts. I try to find just the right words to say nothing at all. Maybe if I start with a formula, I might finish, and if it sounds like art, I might be awarded a trophy for writing the most songs about writing songs, OMG, I can't believe it. I made it to the final verse. And if I do say so myself, the first it could have been a whole lot worse. What's the fucking next line? Ignore the shit. This is the one with all the words in it, and I fucking forgot it now. Ignore the something monk upon the precipice of mortar with the modular barometer. And keep your eye on the guy that made up line about all sorts of random words. For a writer's block song number 143, another creative crying, woe is me. Making short work of an order that's too damn tall. The endless search for the perfect part that'll mend their minds and break their hearts. Trying to find just the right words. Trying to find just the right words. Trying to find just the right words to say nothing at all. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. The writer's block song number 143. Yes, one of the many songs about writing songs, because what more? They say write what you know.
Yeah.
What do I know? I know about writing songs about writing songs. So keep writing songs about it.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the reasons that I still haven't finished the album, but the Meta album was the idea that made me start writing songs again.
Nice.
Because I had the kids' songs, and I was just like, if I'm going to start writing funny songs, what do I write? Every funny song has been written already. what can I bring to the table? And so
Yeah.
I just started writing all these songs about songs. The first, I didn't play it, but I wrote, the first one I wrote was called Comedy Songs Are Not Funny. And then I wrote all those other ones, One Chord and The Single and stuff. And that kind of got me back into just the mindset of writing music and melodies and stuff and funny words.
Fantastic. I fucking love it. I hope that you finish that album at some point, but there's also a little part of me that hopes you'll never finish that album. Because that means that you have created the perfect album.
I know it's hard because it's the one it's like the thing I'm so precious about. Like I put out the cats using toilets or whatever, and it was just like the songs that I had that didn't fit with the Meta album. There's 17 songs on here, and there's it's kind of all different subject matter, and then the pandemic one and stuff. But I keep holding on to. I'm like, it's not. I need one more song for the Meta, And every now and then I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do it because I have this. Like I have a song about Spotify that's going to end up on there.
Yeah, it's a great song. Well, you already released that one as a single.
I released it as a single, but it's going to end up on the album.
Great.
And so it's I want to finish the album, but I know I'm going to put it out and I'm going to be like, I should have put that one song on there.
You know what? You can keep changing it though. Like it's going to be hard to change on all like the official distribution platforms, but like,
throw it up Bandcamp.
Exactly, and just keep adding shit to it, and that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, this has been a ton of fucking fun. And before we go anywhere, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to plug anything you want to plug. I want to make sure that I have the opportunity to just say that I never outwardly say you got to pay to watch this show because that's fucking crazy. But what I will say is I do pay for this totally slick hosting platform with all the doodly doos going across the screen and the ability for me to share comments across. And anyway, it doesn't cost a ton of money. I can afford it. I've very luckily had a job this entire pandemic and will probably continue to have a job. So I'm not saying that I need all the money in the world, but what I do is whatever donations I do receive at Chris Q Murphy on Venmo, 2/3 of them go directly to the artists that are on that week. And then I hold on to 1/3 of it just to either pay for my monthly fees with StreamYard, my monthly rental fee for this space that I'm in, and or to go towards offering artists a guarantee at some point in the future. So feel free to give me money and I will give it to the people that need it. But also there's ways to give Anthony money. So Anthony, can you tell these people about all the different ways they can follow your shit? I do have, let me see if I can get both of these up at the same time. See, I get these cool banners. That's part of the fun. I think I can have the streaming banner that's going now. Yeah. And I can put up
an additional banner.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if I make this one not scrolling, watch this. I can have this one up, and then I can go back. Wait. I believe I can have this other one scrolling under it. Oh,
whoa.
My God. If I want to get really wacky, I can even go back in time and bring up banners that I made for other people's shows, which you don't have a new single called Cameron.
But I'm going to write one now.
No, Tatiana Kalko's new single, fucking Cameron, is killing. But anyway, so people can obviously follow all of your socials, and all of them are Anthony Kapfer. And you were very good about staying social on your socials. But is there a way that people can buy things and or like, support you directly? Tell them about what you do. Plug yourself.
Yes. Okay. So if you want to buy the music that I'm making, you can find me on Bandcamp. So that would be music.anthonykapfer.com. And so I have a bunch of albums on Bandcamp, and you can pay whatever you want for them. Or you could stream it on Spotify and all that stuff too. A few of the albums are there. But yeah, I mean, following me on social media is good. I tweet nonstop because I am losing my mind being at home. So that's probably entertaining. And what else do I started doing a podcast with a couple of other comedians It's called Is This Anything? And that's anywhere that podcasts exist. So check out Is This Anything? We work on new jokes. That's the idea behind it. It's like a writing session with four comics. And sometimes I do songs, and a lot of times I'm working on my one-liners and stuff. So that's a fun one. And then I have my talk show on Mondays, Digital Slumber Party, which is Mondays at 10 o'clock Eastern. And you can find it on Twitch on the Comedy Hub channel, twitch.tv/Comedy Hub every Monday. Yep. And I write most weeks I write a fresh monologue, so it's like a new 5 minutes of jokes, topical jokes, and I have musical guests and comedians, and it's a talk show, variety show kind of thing.
And it's awesome.
It's been fun. It's good to have something to look forward to.
Yeah, I would love to next Monday be back in the studio audience. It's just a fun hang.
Yeah, come hang out.
Awesome. So, I mean, like Anthony said, please follow all his shit. If you are here because you know me but don't know Anthony, go follow all his shit, because that's what we're here for. If you're here because you know Anthony but you didn't know me before, you can follow all of my shit, because I do this show every Tuesday night, and we have fantastic songwriting guests booked straight through the end of May at this point. Wow. At which point I might take a month or two off, because
at that point you've earned it.
I've had guests on this show just about every week since the beginning of August.
Wow.
And it's pretty exciting. But I'm also doing the whole thing myself. So
yeah, and you do your research too. It's a lot of work because you know stuff. Like I
try to
about me.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. I probably steal way too many cues from Marin on this one.
It's great. That's a great show if you're going to take format ideas.
He's a culture vulture, and he likes talking to people about their process. He gets a little too bogged down in biographical shit sometimes, which is all fine and good. It's just no offense, what I'm interested in. Like, if you want to talk about your mom, you can go on Mark Maron's show and talk about that shit. I want to know about writing jokes and writing songs. And anyway, I'm going to shut the fuck up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fantastic. Anthony, is there anything you want the world to know before we disappear tonight?
I don't think so. I'm working on some albums. I'm trying to put out, I think this year, because it's pretty much a wash by the time I get a vaccine. The year will be done. I'm working on 3 albums. I'm re-recording and re-releasing stuff from the Kids album. I'm working on the Meta album, and I have another album that I'm working on, which is like kind of musical pieces with spoken word over it, which is like my stand-up, kind of these weird. You remember like King Missile? Remember that band?
Yeah, of course.
The Detachable Penis song. Yeah. So kind of like that. So I have 3 concept albums that I'm working on that are coming out at some point this year. So if you follow me, you'll know about them.
Awesome. Everybody make sure you come back next week, Tuesday, 9 o'clock, with Pittsburgh songwriter Layla Rhodes. I will see you guys all then. Have a great week, regardless of where you are, and we will see you next time around. I'm going to show my cool little ending screen and see how this works this time around. That's not it. That wasn't nearly as slick as it should have been. Have a great night, everybody.